Ahoy! Today we're taking a closer look at the patch notes for patch 8.1 Season 8 update. And I'm going to do that now because now I had some time to test some things out on PTS, have a bit of a, more detailed experience with some of these items already. And I think it makes a little bit more sense now to me, and I understand some things a little bit better. So we're going to look into that and hopefully make it a little bit shorter than the entire patch show as well. So we're going to skip over the skins here. We've already seen those on the show. If you want to see that, check the video from yesterday. Gotta shout out this one again. And then we have the new DLC, which is basically the same bundle that we had this year, where you can get one special skin, the Anubis skin, along with all the recolors for every upcoming guard. And then here's the release schedule for this patch. And Tiamat is not coming this patch. Tiamat is coming next patch. I know there's some confusion about that at the moment. She is in 8.2. Then we have some bug fixes here. We're going to skip over those, I think, because there's not really anything that is going to be important in the long run, basically. So, or like on a larger scale. What I want to talk about briefly is the new tutorial system. This is unfortunately not in place yet. This is not working under all circumstances yet on PTS, at least. Maybe it works for some people. It didn't work for me yet. I'm still trying to figure it out. But it's a really cool idea, I think. So this detects your role from the lobby to provide a unique guided experience for each role. And shows you waypoints throughout the match. It guides you through the starting jungle camp and to your lane. Draws attention to respawning camps as well, which I think is sometimes like useful even if you're an experienced player. Highlights jungle bosses and towers as the game progresses. And you can manually turn that on and off at any time, so you can just do that in the escape menu in-game. Works in co-op and normal matches, and never stops or slows down the replay. So and it adjusts automatically as well if you miss spawn, get invaded, and otherwise. So it's really cool. Like, it gives you a lot of information that more experienced players would probably know about, but maybe I really hope it gives you some reminders as well. I really hope, like, for example, if it reminds you if you have a ward in your inventory for a while or something, that to place it down. I think that would be really cool. And then I think I would honestly use it just for that feature alone, so I don't forget. So it's on for players under level 15 and off for those above 16. So I'm imagining it's not like super crazy yet. But I do think it's really cool for people who are like worried about playing Conquest as well. You can just turn it on yourself. Just to get introduced to the game mode better and not feel like you don't know where to go and what to do, basically. So I think that's really, really cool. The UI will see an update in-game later at some point this year. Hyros mentioned that, but that's not in this patch. And here we just have the new menu, which is guides, where you can turn on and off everything in-game now, like auto-purchase items, auto-leveling skills and stuff. So this is, for example, convenient as well. If you're using auto-level, or if you don't use auto-level, but at a certain point of the game, you know, whatever, you're like level 10 now, and now the point distribution is very standard, and you know that the auto-level is fine for that, then you can turn it on at that point and be lazy and not worry about it anymore. You have to remember to turn it off again. So some cool features. Yeah, then there's some other adjustments here that are more like visual things that like larger box and stuff. That's not that important. That is all just further tutorial stuff, I think. So we're gonna skip over that, and we don't need to go into that in too much detail. But generally, I think a very, very good feature. And you can also now trade roles, which is really cool. So just to have clarity as well in a lobby if you swap roles with someone who is what role with what guard. And you can request that the same way as you could like request a guard swap in Assault, for example. So that's pretty nice. And recommended items also get certain updates now. So certain changes based on popularity instead of being based on team composition stuff. I thought the team composition stuff was cool, but, well, doesn't work. People don't like it, apparently. Okay, ranked, very important. All players' MMR will be hard reset in 8.1. Hard reset. That means everything is wiped, which we haven't had in a very long time. We've had soft resets, but we haven't had hard resets. So this season, if you haven't played ranked yet, and you're scared of playing ranked and ruining your ranked status and whatever, you can do it for the rest of the season and literally not worry about it coming back to you at all, since everything will be hard reset. Variants will be removed, and maximum MMR will be adjusted, which is also interesting. You can't gain or lose more than 100 MMR in a match, which at the moment is pretty easy. Like if you haven't played any matches yet and you win some games very quickly or lose very quickly, you will gain or lose more than 100 MMR. So it's gonna be a lot more steady progress, which I think is really interesting. So yeah, let's see how that goes. And then this is something else again. I don't know. Ranked quests and rewards will continue to reset every 2 updates. Yeah, okay. Oh, right, and you can now unlock the new skin right at the start of the year if you play enough games instead of at the end of the year as it used to be. It's a Janus skin, which is pretty cool. So healing, it gets changed, and this is pretty impactful for a lot of guards who I didn't realize it at first. So there's now a global anti-healing aura, and this means while you're not fighting guards, all ability lifesteal and healing, all lifesteal, ability lifesteal and healing, I think, is reduced by 30%. So obviously, like for some cases, it's clear. Yeah, for Ra, this means, for example, if you put down his healing and you're not fighting guards, minions don't matter, you'll heal less. But this affects lifesteal as well, and this affects certain levels of sustain in that context as well, which is very noticeable on some guards that I've realized so far. Like, think for example, you could have like Arachne, for example, who has ability healing, where she will just clear jungle camps and heal up on them normally, and that is reduced by 30%. So yeah, it'll make a difference there. That way you wouldn't think about it. Or where I noticed it was with Kali. Kali's 2, I think, heals less, or like the basic attacks afterwards heal less while you're under this effect as well. And this happens like all the time because you're not constantly fighting other guards. So very, very noticeable changes. I think the ability part is it should be that way. The lifesteal part actually feels awkward at times. It makes you wonder, like, do you even want to invest that much into your lifesteal when it's reduced so often, when lifesteal is often also used as out of combat healing? But we'll see over time. And then to offset that, all the anti-heal items have their anti-heal reduced by 5% and the duration reduced by 2 seconds. And the aura items have theirs reduced by 5% as well. But I don't think that's offsetting it. I think the 30% reduction is much bigger than the 5% reduction here. So healing will take a major shift. And then the healing items have a larger healing increase. So Wrath of Asclepius increased healing from 10 to 20% now. But also no longer increases by 15% when taking or dealing damage. So overall, in a fight situation, you would still heal less with this. So yeah, they got pretty heavy nerfs. So we'll see. I feel like maybe this was a bit heavy-handed, and we'll see if it turns back a little bit. Jungle camp vision changes. Guards that visit a jungle camp on their side of the map will now receive vision of the in-world and minimap respawn timers for that camp. This is granted even if the camp was invaded and cleared by the enemy. This is very crucial. Because then you know exactly if the enemy tries to invade again, you know exactly when they will be there because you have the timer as well. Conquest, very important change as well. Living Conquest map. In addition to the new map, there will be 3 more distinct updates to the map throughout the season. Each update will have a specific theme that follows SMITE's storyline and guard release plan. Each update will have art and design updates to the map to complement the themes. And oddly enough, it doesn't mention that here. Oh, here. There will still be continual balance changes to the map every update, especially as we gather data and feedback. They mentioned that some of these visual changes will also affect gameplay, like potentially new objectives or something. So I think it goes beyond that. So the map has a new layout, and that's a huge difference. It's a wider map from lane to lane. It's a longer map from base to base. Jungle is completely reworked, it says. Though completely, I think it's a bit of an overstatement, because at the end of the day, you still have red buff, blue buff, oracle, speed buff, purple buff. That all stays. It's mostly more things that are added and pathways that are changed. But it feels a lot different because of the longer travel time, especially because the distances are wider. And then Then we have a new art site. You've already seen that, all the visual stuff. We don't need to talk about that. We've looked at that in game. That describes it a lot better. And there's a full stats list for the balance changes here. We actually, let's have a quick look at them, which should give us, hopefully, yes, it gives us the stat overview for every camp with the health and the gold and XP reward. So that's very nice. And they also, yeah, okay, they also changed all the rewards for other buff camps here. So this is really, really cool. This is something I will dive into deeper at a later point. Make a map out of that as well, I think. So yeah, that's something to look forward to. Because that changes a lot as well over, like in terms of how much farm you can get on the map and everything. Especially since Totem of Ku was Jungle Shrine is the name. It was removed at the same time, which takes away a lot of extra gold. And the new objective here, the Greater Scorpion, is actually really important. These are like spawning in the middle, and then they can spawn on your side afterwards. Not important, you figure that part out in game, or from watching a few games. But what's important is they enhance other buffs. So if you get one of those Scorpion kills, then you can get additional physical and magical lifesteal on the red buff. You can get additional CCR on the speed buff. I don't know why they did that. That's just... Everything else is so good. Everyone else got such good increase. They give us increased CCR. Okay, enhanced mana buff increased the cooldown reduction from 10 to 20%, which is insane. And additionally provides 10% increased maximum mana. Like, just compare that. Why is that the same? Well, anyways, and the enhanced void buff increases attack speed bonus from 10% to 25%. So yeah, I would say especially the blue buff and the void buff are really, really good. And the red buff is still pretty good for, mid lane sustain. And then one of these is not like the other. And then we have a lesser Scorpion as well on the sides of the map, which have a new death mechanic actually, which is interesting, where they get health points at the end. So you still have to last with them after they're killed, which is weird. And they give a healing aura that heals 20 HP per second for a maximum of 10 seconds. But it says while in their down state. This is interesting. I actually thought that they keep this after you clear them. Apparently they only do this in their down state, which means you technically want to hold them in their down state, because they give 20 HP per second in their down state for 10 seconds, and then after 10 seconds you want to clear them. Very interesting. Okay, I didn't even realize that before. You have gates in the base now where you can walk out of that open from inside the base if you step on a pad basically, and yeah, you've seen those already probably. The fountain also gets a change. So you get a buff now which increases out of combat movement speed by 40% and lasts 5 seconds when you walk out of the fountain. This makes a lot of sense because the map is bigger, so you have more walking to do anyways. Very nice as well. It was still enhanced by the Pyromancer as well. Very nice as well because it makes backing a lot easier, a lot more rewarding. If you clear one side of the jungle, you could just back, and then you get the speed buff, and then you go through one of the doors and you go back into the jungle. So you can back a lot more often and get back to a certain point quicker as a jungler. Not so much if you want to get back to lane, because again, the distances are longer. All buff camps now spawn at 20. Very important as well. So no more split timers for that, which currently it looks like the solo laner will just work on blue themselves. It looks like the jungler might not even go there, since it's very different on that side of the jungle especially. The harpy camps spawn at 35, so you still have to clear that first, and then but mid harpy camps, sorry. Some other harpy camps spawn earlier. I'm pretty sure it doesn't say here. But there are some harpy camps close to the buff camps that spawn basically after you've cleared it or during that time anyways. Invader's Curse now encompasses all buff camps until 1 minute, so you really don't want to invade unless you're really ready for it. And the Void camp actually gets a rework on its effect. Void Sludge now stacks up to 3 times, applies 5% protection reduction per stack, and reduce ability cooldown. What? From 30 to 7 seconds? The ability cooldown of sludge, I guess. And the debuff lifetime is reduced from 20 to 10 seconds, which it lingered a lot before. No longer lowers your targeting priority from other minions. That's actually a downside. So this makes this a lot worse than before, or that makes the effect stronger for the camp. This was an interesting mechanic, I think, but it was also kind of weird to use, so I can understand why they removed it. Then we have starter items being completely reworked, and blessings have been removed. Should we go into the reasoning a little bit? Yeah, why not? The first item you buy in Smite has a large impact on how you plan to tackle that given game. Blessings, while providing a great roadmap for how to play the early game, often remove much of this flexibility you might expect in a MOBA. We want to bring back each player's ability to alter not only the early game, but make the decision more meaningful to the mid and late game. So, stars are coming back. We don't need to go through the rest here yet, because we get to that anyways. But I think starters are better. I'm going to make a video talking about blessings, put that one in the grave, but we will talk about starters here. So each of them has 2 separate upgrades. These can be bought for additional 1,500 gold, which is relatively cheap for what they offer at level 20, and for support that can be upgraded level 17. Once you have left the fountain with the starter, it's the only starter item that you can get that game. So you can, if you buy the wrong starter, you cannot get another starter. Very important, you have to pay attention. They have no class log restrictions, which means they always all show to you. The only restrictions here are based on the power type they provide. The jungle focus starter items are unavailable in non-conquest mode. Okay, let's get into these. Okay, carry starters, death toll, also solo starter obviously. Restore health and mana for landing basic attacks. Wait, they had some stats before. Are they not showing the stats anymore? Hang on. Pretty sure they show them. Yeah. Okay, why did... They just listed them out once. Nah. We're going to go with the listed version, because I think that was just for the patch notes show. We want to know what's really going on here. So, Death Toll. 10 physical power, 20 magical power, 75 health. Hitting an enemy with a basic attack restores 2 health, and... What, 2 health plus 1% of your maximum health? Wait, they did both now? That's weird. And 1 mana plus 1.5% of your maximum mana. Basic attacks that deal AoE damage restore half as much for each enemy hit after the first. Can be upgraded at level 20. Very nice sustain item, which in my opinion is not necessarily limited to hunters, because you can do this in solo if you have an AA guard. Death Embrace can be upgraded from Death Toll level 20. Comes with 80 physical power, 200 health, 140. Okay, oh, by the way, this is 700 gold, and some are like, I think, 750. We'll get to that in a bit. I'll find one later. Anyways, 80 physical power, 140 magical power, 200 health. Could be very interesting, because this means like guys like Freya can use this as well, along with everything else they do, if it's a magical power now. And this has a lot. Hitting an enemy with a basic attack restores 3% of your health and mana. Basic attacks that deal AoE damage restore half as much for each enemy hit after the first. Can be upgraded at level 20. And I've seen this being used. And I can tell you that if somebody runs that and Devos, Black Guy did that, posted a clip of that, it's not funny. People thought that hunters are dead because some hunter items get nerfed, but nah. If you run this and something else, you need a lot of anti-heal to work against that, and I don't think people will buy as much anti-heal, because the inherent anti-heal exists now. Strong. Very strong. And I think magical ADCs could be a sleeper for this one, since this gives so much power and this sustain for them, and some of them work very well with, like, you know, Freya works very well, especially with that stuff. Death Temper, the alternative option, comes with less power, 50 physical power, 75 magical power, but comes with 30% attack speed and 100 health. Passive: when an enemy dies near you, you gain 1 stack of Temper that provides 3.5% basic attack power for 10 seconds, maximum of 10 stacks. When an enemy guard dies near you, gain 5 stacks. One of those weird, when a minion dies items, kind of snowbally. You get a lot of attack speed up front, so this is obviously basic attack focus, but you lose the sustain of the previous version. So this is something, if you went into Devour's Gauntlet and now you don't want the sustain from this item anymore, instead you want to get more attack speed and more basic attack damage. So could also definitely be good, because the overall increase of 35% basic attack power, that is huge. If you can actually get there, you just need to get there. That's the problem. That's so situational. Next one is Gilded Arrow. 700 gold, 15 basic attack damage, 50 health, and 7 MP5. Every 10 seconds, a nearby minion is marked, prioritizing the highest health minion. If you secure the killing blow on that minion, you gain 10 bonus gold and 20 attack speed for 8 seconds and restore 20 mana. So obviously the priority here is that you get extra farm, and you actually get a lot of mana with this as well. A lot of extra gold farm. So the first upgrade version is Diamond Arrow. 80 basic attack damage, again no power or something, just basic attack damage, 100 health. Which, when you look at this is like less than what you get from a Death Embrace, for example, right? Or even, I would say even from Death Temper. When you kill an enemy, you gain 10 gold and 20% attack speed for 8 seconds, stacking up to 3 times. If you kill an enemy guard, you gain 3 stacks and 30 gold immediately. So, wait. They changed this number, or there's a typo here. I'm not sure which one it is, but this means that if you kill an enemy guard, you get 60% attack speed. Okay. I'm pretty sure this was not like this before. Not with the 3 stacks. I'm pretty sure the data mining even was milder than this. It's weird that you still gain gold at level 20, but it's kind of whatever, because you're really after this effect. If you kill 3 minions, you get 60% attack speed. What I'm wondering about is the duration. 60% attack. That's crazy. I don't even think there's any item in game currently that offers that much. Well, anyways, moving on. Then we have 60 basic attack damage on Ornate Arrow, 150 health. Passive, all sorts of gold gain are increased by 20%. For every 100 gold you gain 1% attack speed and 0.8% critical strike chance, up to a maximum of 25 stacks. So you can get up to 25% attack speed, and I think that's 20% crit chance if you have 2,500 gold lying around. Thing is, it's only 60 basic attack damage on this. So I don't see the point, honestly. I don't see the point when I could just buy an item with similar stats that provides me, okay, 60. So let's look at this. Or maybe I see the point. See, this has like Death Temper in terms of attack speed and physical power. This is like pretty similar as this one is when it's maxed out, and you have to have 2,500 gold in your pocket, which is not something you normally do. But this comes with crit chance. So it's like an item that has basic attack damage, attack speed, and crit chance, which is nice. But I just feel like the keeping that much gold in your pocket is gonna hold you back at some point, somehow. I think that's just too much. Yeah, I don't see it yet. It's too weird. Especially when this one seems like so much more accessible than Diamond Arrow. But, well, let's see. What did I say? This one had 60% attack speed. Let's see what we get out of these guys here. Because this is like a secondary option. The Leather Cowl, 15 physical power, 10% lifesteal, and 5% attack speed. When you're near an allied guard, you gain 10% attack speed. While you're alone, you gain 5% movement speed. I've used this, and honestly, this feels weird, because you have that extra attack speed in the beginning of the game when your support's there, and then your support leaves, and suddenly you feel weaker. Hunter's Cowl, the first upgrade. This comes with 60 physical power, 15% physical lifesteal, not that much, 20% attack speed. So overall good stats, like solid stats. The passive, when you're near an allied guard, you gain 25% attack speed aura. When you're alone, you gain 10% movement speed. So this one comes with 45% attack speed, I think. The fact that this aura is pretty huge in my opinion. Like a 25% attack speed aura. If you run this in like a hunter team comp, a hunter like AA assassin double hunter team comp, I think this would be a huge buff that you can use along with other aura effects. And you're not really losing anything for it because the stats are really good still. So this item I think is very, very interesting. You just have to get there, obviously, and you have to be with your team. Leader's Cowl is the other upgrade. 40 physical power, 300 health, 15% physical lifesteal, For each nearby friendly guard, you gain a stack of Outnumber. For each nearby enemy guard, you lose a stack of Outnumber. Each stack of Outnumber provides 3% increased power to nearby allied guards. And the first time I talked about this, I was like, why is this even a thing? I completely forgot that this also works when there's no enemy nearby, meaning if you're doing a fire giant and the enemy team is not near, then you can clear it a lot quicker because everyone has increased power. So this is interesting. Not necessarily my favorite item, I think, because it's such a situational one that really is more for objectives than anything else. And the other stats aren't really hunter stats. I don't know, like 300 health doesn't really fit in for me. But at the same time, it's relatively hard to fit this on a non-hunter. Like, maybe you could fit this on some solos, but then you also lose the benefit of the 5% movement speed. So there's a lot of things going on in this tree that, in my opinion, don't really fit all too well, like, into one thing. I mean, this is actually not bad either if you think about 10% movement speed in late game, but I don't know. I feel like the leader's cowl especially is kind of out of place. Then we have Warrior's X, which is a lot cheaper here with 600 gold, 50 health, 15 physical protection, 10 magical protection, and 2 damage reduction flat. Damaging an enemy guard steals 25 health away from your target and restores it to you. This effect can only occur once every 10 seconds. Basically, a Warrior's Blessing. But that can be upgraded, and cheap, 600 gold. That can be upgraded to Thundering Axe, which is has 250 health, 30 physical and magical protection, and 5 flat damage reduction. Passive, damaging an enemy guard steals 10% of their current health away from your target and restores it to you. This effect can only occur once every 7 seconds. I think this one's interesting. I think a 10% steal is interesting, but it's based on current health, which means it's not like super insane or anything when they are lower health. So it's really like to chunk tanks, but it is true damage because it's a steal. It's not a percentage damage or something. It's not a physical damage. It's a steal, and the steal, as far as I understand it, works as true damage. And if that's the case, I think it's pretty huge for a solo laner who would typically build this to be able to just steal 10% of their health and just get it back as well. And this can only happen once every 7 seconds, but 7 seconds is not that long. So I think Thundering Axe is a very interesting item. The alternative is Hero's Axe, 300 health, 35 physical magic protection, 30% crowd control reduction. Passive, when an allied guard around you within 50 of units is hit by a hard crowd control effect, give them a shield equal to 10% of your maximum health. This effect can only occur once every 8 seconds. Also a very, very strong item in my opinion. Like a very team-focused item with a really cool effect. Because somebody's gonna get hit by crowd control in a team fight. You wouldn't even be bothered, like if a target is valuable enough for them to be hit by crowd control, then, or hard crowd control rather, then it's definitely worth at that point for them to get a shield. If it's a tank that gets the shield, doesn't matter. Then he can go in with an extra shield and hard engage. If it's a squishy that gets a shield, even better, because then you have a squishy that now has a shield. So I think this is very beneficial, and then the fact that it's every 8 seconds also is big in my eyes. So I think Hero's X is very, very interesting. This item, honestly, like I'd run it on junglers if it wasn't for the fact that it only steals from guards, because the upgrades are really, really interesting. It just doesn't work in jungle. Then we have Bluestone Pendant, kind of familiar here. 10 physical power, 20 HP 5, 10 MP 5. And enemies hit by your damaging abilities take an additional 25 physical damage over 2 seconds. So this is only for physical guards. And this has a maximum of 2 stacks. This can be upgraded though into a Bluestone Brooch. This comes with 45 physical power, 30 HP 5 and MP 5. And the passive is enemies hit by your damaging abilities take an additional 25 plus 7.5% of their current health over 2 seconds. It doesn't say an additional amount of physical damage, but I'm assuming it's physical damage as well based on Bluestone Pendant. Otherwise, I think it would be too strong as well. Yeah, it would be way too strong. So it must be physical damage, meaning it's still mitigated and stuff. But still, that's a lot. Like, The fact that it's going to stack as well, like you can get 2 stacks of this on a target with 2 damaging abilities, and that's 50 damage plus 15% of their health. So that's some nice yellow damage, I would say, even if it's mitigated to some degree. And the alternative here is Corrupted Bluestone, which comes with 60 physical power, also 20 HP5 and MP5. And enemies hit by your damaging abilities take an additional 75 damage over 5 seconds. And the enemy attack speed is reduced by 10%, maximum 2 stacks. For every enemy afflicted, you gain 15% attack speed to a maximum of 5 enemies. So this is really weird, because this is even higher. But the other one was 60% attack speed, and this one you can actually get 75% extra attack speed. Now the question here is, when this is your tier 1, physical power, HP5, MP5, and extra stuff from abilities, then what do you do with Corrupted Bluestone? And I have an answer. I have one answer, and that answer is set. You need a character that benefits from Bluestone, that benefits from the additional damage from Bluestone, can make use of the initial stats, but also benefits from attack speed, and ideally can hit a lot of enemies in a very short amount of time. And set is exactly all that. I don't know if there's any other guard that I really consider for this to the same extent. I'm sure there are other guards that could use it. Like you could use it on Cocoolin because you can hit a lot of enemies very quickly. And Cocoolin can also make some use of extra attack speed, especially with its extended range. But really, when if there's one guard that I would look at here, it's most certainly set. And yeah, that's the one to have in mind. But it's a weird item because this item seems like it's designed for set. It's just like, you guys just nerfed set. Why would you make an item just for him that like works really well in context of his abilities? Especially because it's for him it's also like easy to apply the other effect, like the additional damage and the attack speed reduction. So yeah, I don't know. Next one is Warding Sigil. 100 health, 15 magical protection. Whenever you're hit by an ability, you gain a stack of dampening, decreasing the damage taken by 5 for 5 seconds, so a flat reduction. This occurs once per ability cast. This can stack twice. So definitely an anti mage item, mostly for solo. First upgraded version is Sigil of the Old Guard at 200 health, 75 magical protection. Passive, whenever you're hit by an ability, you gain a stack of Rebuke, decreasing damage taken by 4% for 5 seconds. This occurs once per ability cast. This can stack to 3 times. I think this is very interesting. I think getting 12% reduction that lasts for 5 seconds when you're in a fight is pretty good. Though, at the same time, I feel like there's other solo stuff that's better. You'd have to very specifically want to counter magical damage and not need any sustain, because this item does not come with any sustain. So that makes it a bit awkward. And then Infused Sigil, 350 health, 25 physical and magic protection. The passive, whenever you're hit by an ability, your Infused Sigil gains a stack. This occurs once per ability cast. At 5 stacks, it explodes after 0.5 seconds, dealing 400 magical damage to enemies in 30 units around you. I've talked about this before. I think this is kind of like Pritwin, but without any additional effects. No shield, no reliable way to trigger it, no slow that comes afterwards, just more damage. Is that worth it? I don't know. I don't really think so. I think there are other solo items that are better, but maybe if you're going against magic, like let's scroll up a little bit to Heroes X here or something. I think these effects, just like stealing 10% from the current target, or stealing or giving a shield to allies, I think those things are a lot more reliable, and this still comes with magical protection, it still comes with damage reduction. So I don't really see the niche for this, since it doesn't come with sustain as well. So I don't really know when this is going to be useful or how you might best use it, but I don't think the stats on this justify it over anything else really. And if anything, I'd probably look more towards a massive mitigation build where you want to build this. Vampiric Shroud comes with 15 magical power, 75 health, 15 physical protection, and 5% magical lifesteal. Damaging any enemies with an ability gives you bonus 6 health and 6 mana. Can only trigger once per ability. That's the lifesteal item for mages. First upgrade is Bloodstock Trout. 75 magical power, 200 health, 40 physical protections, and 15% magical lifesteal. Damaging an enemy with an ability restores 12 health, 6 mana, and provides one stack of a stack of 1% magical lifesteal for 6 seconds. This can stack infinitely. Can only trigger once per target per ability. I wasn't sure about this part, the last part actually before. I was like, maybe this works with ticks and then it could be interesting somehow. But I actually think this is not very interesting. I think the fact that this can stack infinitely doesn't really matter. Like, yes, this would be great if you can max out your lifesteal, but I think Bancroft does a much better job of doing, like, fulfilling a similar purpose. Like, the benefits of these items lie more in the tanky stats it offers. Because if you were to get Bancrofts, then you get more lifesteal as you get lower health. With this, you have to space out your abilities in order to keep this passive going, because it's only 6 seconds. And if your cooldowns are longer than 6 seconds, which they usually are, then it's very easy to lose this effect. And you have to space out fighting minions and camps and everything. Like, you always have this 6-second timer breathing down your neck just to keep your lifesteal up. And I don't think that's worth it. I think if this was ticking, then like Anubis or someone could make great use of it. But as it's not, I don't think this is particularly interesting. I don't see how it would be used yet. I know that it was used by, I think Chaos used it in the show match and on Shankui. And I would say, like, for the stats, maybe, but not for the passive. The alternative is Sacrificial Shroud with 100 magical power, 100 health, 20 physical protection, and 15% magical lifesteal. So significantly less defensive stats. But the passive here, your abilities deal 15% more damage, but cost 5% of your maximum health. I think that is more interesting. Even though the defensive stats are low, I think it's just a more beneficial effect, since you just deal more damage with everything, and the life cost can be offset by health cost can be offset by magical lifesteal, I think, to some degree, maybe if you add some more lifesteal into it as well. So I think this is more interesting overall. And we have Sands of Time, 800 gold, 30 magical power. Important, 800 gold, right? This is pretty expensive. 30 magical power, 5 MP5, 10% cooldown reduction right off the bat. This item grants 2% MP5, 2 MP5 per 10% of your missing mana. Also somewhat familiar in what this offers compared to Mage's Blessing. First option is Pendulum of Ages with 2,300 gold, 90 magical power, 20 MP5, 10% cooldown reduction. Doesn't actually increase the cooldown reduction, which I find interesting. This item grants 4 MP5 per 10% missing mana. This item grants 7 magical power per 10% available mana. Kind of weird. Honestly, I think it's not bad, but the maximum you can get out of this, if you have full mana, and that assumes you have full mana, is 70 magical power, which brings us to a total of 160 magical power, which isn't bad, and it's a cheap item. So if you're after, like, just stacking magical power, okay, but, well, it's just magical power and a little bit of CDR. It doesn't really have a passive beyond that. Like, you know, it's not a Spear of Desolation passive. It's not a Rod of Tahuti passive. It's not anything that adds, it's not a Soul Reaver. It's just power. So maybe there's like some super high power builds where this could be useful. But so far, I'm not sure if this is something that I necessarily always or often look for in a build in the first place. Like, I don't know, maybe some CDR power heavy combination, because like usually CDR heavy items have a little bit less power, but I'd favor just getting other items with more power and getting Spear of Desolation and Chronos Pendant instead, which reduce your cooldowns more overall, but again, maybe there's use somewhere. And then there's the alternate timeline, 45 magical power, 45 protections, not specified, I'm assuming it's both, physical, magical, 15 MP5, 10% cooldown reduction. Passive. When you would die, you instead find an alternate timeline where you're alive, becoming CC immune, damage immune, and unable to act. After 1.75 seconds, you are restored to 25% health and mana and can act again. This can only occur once every 10 minutes. I was skeptical about this item at first, right? I was worried that this could be very crazy because it's a revive. If you want to see how this item actually looks in action, go on my Twitter. Go on my Twitter and scroll down a little bit until you find a video where we saw it in action. It's not that dangerous, honestly. It's not that bad. This item comes with pretty low stats, all things considered, especially if you compare to Pendulum of Ages. A little bit of power, a little bit of protections and CDR. Compared to the other last state version, not very much. And you're literally locked in place for a short amount of time. And if you have teammates that can peel away in that short amount of time, good. But if you have those teammates, there's a good chance they would have turned the fight anyways. If they have the energy to focus on peeling for you and saving you, there's a good chance they would have been able to win that particular fight in either scenario. If that's not the case, if you get dove, if you get rotated on in the wrong way or anything, you're still gonna die. You're just coming back with a little bit of health and you just get popped again as a squishy. It doesn't matter. Like, maybe there's a case to be made for like a solo laner that could bring this into a build somehow if you're like a very mana heavy solo laner. But that's a big maybe. Because then 25% health could mean a lot more. I think the situations where this is going to be actually useful versus how often it's just going to be burned and then be down for 10 seconds make it not worth quite frequently. I mean, you can find like the one counter example where it was really useful, but I haven't seen it yet. I've seen people survive because of this, but that was in situations where the team fight as a whole would have still gone in that team's favor. It was one situation actually anyway, so I don't see this item yet. I don't see it yet. And that's a good thing, to be honest. Then there's Conduit Gem, another mage option here. 700 gold, 30 magical power, 15 MP5. Passive, every second you gain a stack of arcane energy, causing your next damaging ability to deal additional 2 true damage. Remove all the stacks. This effect stacks up to 20 times. I haven't really seen much of this item, and it confuses me because I think this item sounds incredible. I think like it hasn't really been used, but I think it's a really strong item. The first upgrade is Archmage's Gem, 100 magical power, pretty straightforward, and 25 MP5. Every 1 second you gain a stack of demise, causing next damaging ability deal an additional 2.5% of your magical power in damage and remove all the stacks. This effect stacks up to 20 times. So this is a bit like this is 50% extra damage on your next ability, which I think is huge. It depends a bit on how your guard works in general, because we had another option before that provides you with more power for more mana. So for some guards it may be more beneficial to just have more overall power and just amplify all their abilities a little bit more. But if you're a guard that just relies on one ability doing the biggest burst it can, then I think this is huge. Like if you're playing Thoth, Janus, Ra, Scylla, those types, or maybe Poseidon, the ones where you just want to get as much as possible out of your ultimate, then I think this is very interesting. And what's also worth noting here is that these used to have some sort of freeze effect where these stacks would stop being gained, and that was removed for both versions. So, like, I think this version never had it, but it was removed for both. So you'll always get this additional damage, and you'll always get these stacks. So when you're coming from base, you'll probably have full stacks every single time. In a fight, you will keep getting stacks, and I think that makes things very interesting because then you will still get more additional damage after your initial ability, even if it's just like an extra 5% or something, which I think is still good. The alternative is Gem of Focus, 90 magical power, 150 health, and 50 MP5. Every time you cast an ability that costs mana, you gain a stack of Focus for 10 seconds, providing 3% movement speed, 3% damage increase, and 2% damage taken reduction, stacking up to 3 times. Also very nice, it's a 9% damage increase that lasts for 30 seconds. No, not true. It lasts for 10 seconds anyways. It doesn't. The duration doesn't stack. But It obviously requires you to cast a lot of abilities. So this is something that is very intertwined with building some cooldown, I would say, or having a low cooldown guard, which is weird because we already have another item in the other tree that kind of does it like relies on having low cooldowns as well. But if you have a cooldown reduction heavy build, I could see this being a very interesting option overall. That brings us to the jungler's items. The first one is Bombas Dagger with 600 gold, so also relatively cheap. 50 health, 50 mana. Passive, your basic attacks deal 15 true damage. The abilities deal 30% damage versus jungle monsters. When a jungle monster is killed, you are restored 10% of the monster's health and 25 mana. Can be upgraded at level 20. Yeah. Bombas Mask, basically, whatever. No more bonus gold or anything on this zone. Bombas Spear, 60 physical power, 90 magical power, 200 health, 200 mana. Passive, your basic attacks deal 50 true damage and abilities. 50% damage against jungle monsters, structures, and jungle bosses. When any of these die, you are healed for 10% of their health and restore 10% of your mana given and are given 10 gold. So this is obviously pretty interesting for the jungle monsters, jungle bosses. I think the new Scorpions count as jungle bosses as well, since you get a lot of sustain out of this. But the question is, are you really looking for a healing from camps item in late game and damage to camps? Like, if you're really heavily on the objective damage, sure. Jungle objectives damage specifically, doesn't even do structure damage. But I don't know. I feel like it's just too limited. It doesn't do anything against guards. It doesn't do anything against structures. It doesn't do anything against... no, sorry. Oh, I'm wrong. Never mind. It does work against structures. Well, that makes it a little better. Okay, so more of an objective sieging thing. Could actually make this interesting. Yeah, never mind. I take that back. 50% damage against structures. I didn't read that. I didn't... Oh no, that's your ability. Now I'm wondering. No, probably not. Okay, so 50 true damage against structures. I'm thinking this could mean that certain junglers can possibly split push again. I was thinking Bastet first, but she would only get the true damage here. But especially Bakasura could do that. I think Bakasura, because there's more attack speed, like true damage would be relevant since the more attack speed you have, the more often you can apply this. I think Bakasura could shred a tower with this pretty well. So that is maybe where the purpose comes in. Or obviously burning through camps relatively quickly and through objectives if your jungler is capable of that. The alternative is Bombas Hammer. 300 health, 200 mana, 10% cooldown reduction, and 10% penetration. The passive, after casting ability, your next basic attack deals an additional 80 true damage. After hitting a basic attack empowered by Bombas Hammer, your active cooldowns are reduced by 1 second and you're healed for 5% of your maximum health. So, very interesting. I think this is going to be the primary upgrade that you'll see on most junglers. On one hand, this is because Bombas Dagger is just probably the best early game thing that you'll see, the best starter for most junglers. On the other hand, the Bombas Hammer effect here, it's 80 extra damage and it is a cooldown reduction of 1 second and it is also a 5% maximum health heal, and this is for every ability, so on certain guards it should be really, really good. I've tried it in a yellow damage build on Raven and I couldn't really tell. I couldn't really tell yet, but I think I didn't closely pay attention to my health at that point as well and my cooldowns. So yeah, I think you can reduce cooldowns by a lot with this, and I think that's where it's going to be very, very useful for certain junglers, and the additional true damage obviously as well, especially because that means you can also deal better with tanks. And it also has this nice mix of utility stats that you can use in late game as like a bruiser jungler. So I really think that Bombas Hammer is one of the very cool ones. Then we have Eye of the Jungle, 650 gold, which is actually this... No, it's a little bit more than Bombas Dagger. And it comes with 10 physical power, 20 magical power, 15 HP 5, and 20% attack speed. Your passive is you deal 30% increased damage to jungle monsters. Upon defeating a large jungle monster, place a ward that lasts 30 seconds. Problem: 15 HP 5, that's it. Not really the same sustain that you would get from a Bombas Dagger while going through the jungle, where you are restored for their health constantly. You rely on these 15 HP 5. I don't think it's enough for most junglers, and the passive doesn't really make that much sense in early game most of the time, at least. Then we have Seer of the Jungle, which can be upgraded from Eye of the Jungle level 20, which gives you 60 physical power, 90 magical power, 25 physical protection, and 20% attack speed. The passive here is you deal 30% increased damage to jungle monsters' bosses. On defeating a large jungle monster or boss, you gain the ability to see wards for 10 seconds. Here's the problem that I was talking about with Bombas Spear before. It's actually this item. It only works on bosses. It's nice that you can see wards, but I don't know. Like, it could be. I really want to see how this works in the Pro League, right? On a really high level of play, I want to see how much you can clear out with that. By basically invading the enemy camps or doing a jungle boss and then running around. But it's 10 seconds, and my feeling is that, you know, you could just get a sentry ward and clear where it's most important, but maybe you can clear more with this. I just really haven't seen it yet. The alternative is Protector of the Jungle, which can be upgraded from Eye of the Jungle. 65 physical power, 100 magical power, 35 physical protection, and 35% attack speed. While in the jungle, you gain 15% power and 15% protections. This one is interesting because this, I think, is something that the pros already value a little bit. It's an interesting mix of stats, of course. It comes with a lot of power and some and a lot of attack speed and some protections. But it also has extra protections and extra power, which makes you a huge threat around like Fire Giant or something. And I think that's more valuable. I think if you get this, you're just going to be a menace in the jungle and contest all the objectives relatively easily. Whereas this is like, oh yeah, after the objective is done, you get something. I think I'd rather have like more power and everything for anyone that shows up, not just against jungle monsters. And yeah, I think Protector of the Jungle is interesting, but you have to get there first, which means you have to get through the early game with Eye of the Jungle, which is not fun. Again, lifesteal is nerfed, and you're not constantly going to be fighting enemies, and HP 5 is not that much. The last option is Mannequin Scepter, and oh my god, it's really hard to jungle with that, because you're constantly going to run out of everything. This comes with 10 basic attack damage, 15 physical protection, and 3 damage reduction. It does not come with any HP 5 or MP 5. Enemies that are hit by your basic attacks are burned, taking 20 physical damage over 2 seconds, have their attack speed reduced by 7%. Jungle monsters take 2.5 times the amount of damage. This effect can stack up to 4 times. Can be upgraded at level 20. So what does that mean? 2.5 times the normal damage would be like 50 damage over 2 seconds, which means they can take up to 200 damage from this after 4 hits. Problem is, this item does not come with any attack speed, so it relies on basic attacks, but it doesn't come with any attack speed. It does not come with any movement speed reduction, so you're not gonna do much to enemy guards with it early game. Like, it's not the hard invade thing that it used to be. Attack speed reduction, I don't know. I don't see the benefit. And it really doesn't offer you anything to sustain yourself. And it's expensive as well, with 750 gold. So we've tried this. We've ran this on quite a few guards, and it did not feel good most of the time. Arachne is potentially a guard that can run it because you can sustain. You have other ways of sticking to enemies, and then you get this extra damage effect, and you get the reduction. But most other junglers, I don't know. Like, I haven't really found many that have the inherent sustain to go through the jungle without problems and still benefit from this on a larger scale. Like Thanatos, for example, is just not that basic attack heavy. Like, he does his attack cancels, but he's not like that basic attack heavy that this is something he would want to prioritize. So it's weird. Bakasura is someone who could also make use of this because he has some sustain. Again, you still have a mana problem afterwards. But if he does, he's still not going to kill much with this early game. Like, you have to get to a certain point in the game to even stick to enemies enough to apply multiple procs of this. And I just don't see it. The first upgrade is Mannequin's Mace, 50 basic attack damage, 100 health, 30 physical protection, and 8 damage reduction. And we said by your basic attacks are burned, taking 60 physical damage over 2 seconds, have their attack speed stalled by 10%. Jungle monsters, bosses take quadruple damage, and this can stack up to 4 times. That's actually, I haven't even calculated how much that is. Wait, so we can take quadruple damage. So we take 240 damage. Like a jungle boss will take 240 damage times 4, being 960. That's a lot. It's a lot of damage for 4 basic attacks, for sure. But outside of that, it's still like... It still doesn't come with any attack speed. It comes with defensive stats on a super offensive item otherwise. It comes with a lot of damage reduction, which is very just strange. Like, who is this meant for? Who wants 50 basic attack damage and 30 physical protection and 8 damage reduction? And an effect that relies on basic attacks. Like, this seems... it's meant as a jungler's item, right? It's got the jungler's coloring here, the yellow. But it seems more like a solo lane item, if anything. If it wasn't for the jungle monsters taking more damage part. Like, it almost feels like that part is just for solos to be able to clear their own camp. I don't know. It's weird. I really don't know what to make of this. I feel like this is more likely to end up in solo than in jungle. And then there's Mannequin Hidden Blade, 2,250 gold, 75 basic attack damage, 30 physical protection, and 5% damage reduction. Again, the damage reduction, it's odd. The damage reduction, by the way, does not offset not having sustain. Passive, if you have not taken or dealt damage in the last 5 seconds, hit an enemy guard, jungle monster, or jungle boss, they immediately take 15% of their current health as physical damage and are slowed by 20% for 5 seconds. At this point, the item is suddenly huge, right? Or maybe not huge, actually. No, it used to be huge, but 15% as physical damage is actually not that much if it's current health. No, maybe it's not even huge then. Like, I'm thinking. No, I really don't see much of a purpose. Like, it's just a like after mitigations applied, it's maybe 10%, and then if they're already half health, then it's only like 5% of their total health. I don't know. No, I think this is one of the weirder trees as well. Sentinel's Gift is just Watcher's Gift, basically. We have 75 health, 7 physical magic protection, 7 MP5, and the passive is being in assist range of a minion or jungle camp. A monster deal a death without dealing the killing blow awards 7 bonus gold. Also restores 12 health and 8 mana. If you're not near an ally guard for 20 seconds or more, the passive is disabled. Nothing new here, really. You get the concept. And then the first upgrade is Sentinel's Boon with 300 health, 45 physical and magical protection, and 20 MP5. Why did they not list the prices? Are the support upgrades free? I don't think they are. Assisting an enemy... I kind of want to look it up, but let's see. No, they're not. Okay. Don't know. I forgot. Assisting an enemy target dying provides 15 bonus gold and restores 3% of your health and mana. Weird. Like, I don't think that's what you need in late game. But at the same time, you can upgrade this at level 17. So maybe it's like if you still want to get something completely different later, and then you just get some extra gold quickly this way, because it's like more than double. So yeah, maybe it's good for extra gold. Sentinel's Embrace, 200 health, 20 physical protection, 20 medical protection, and 20 MP5. Passive, evenly split 120 physical magic protection among all nearby allied guards and yourself. If you are alone, you only gain 60 physical magical protections. Huge. I think this is by far going to be the most popular support item, because you have the inherent benefit of Sentinel's Gift, which is honestly the most reliable, safe option early game for extra gold as well. And then you get something that gives you massive protections for your entire team. And you yourself still get a lot of protections as well. Like, if it's just 2 people, you get not only 6, you get 80 protections, plus the other effects here, plus the health. So I think the aura is just super good. And we have Benevolence, 75 health, 750 gold as well, 7 HP5, 10 MP5. Passive, gain 2 gold per 5 seconds and 1 XP per 5 seconds, plus 0.5 per level. So you get more XP when you're on higher levels. Anytime you would gain experience or gold from an enemy dying, you only take 90% and share 10% with nearby allies. I've tried this and it felt strange. I think I still ended up getting less XP than you normally do. Like, I think that this XP per something per level doesn't offset that, because 1 XP per 5 seconds, I don't think it's that much. It was odd because you don't have the same sustain that you have with the Watcher's Gift or something like that, which still has like, or like Sentinel's Gift, which still has like MP5 built in it, and then you get health and mana, and here you just get like a little bit of HP5 and the MP5. I don't know. It felt weaker in comparison. Then you have Compassion, which comes with 300 health, 30 HP5 and 15 MP5. Damage taken by nearby allies is reduced by 15% up to a maximum of 100 damage. The reduced damage is redirected to you as magical damage. If this redirected damage would kill you, it does not get redirected. I think this passive is really cool. But the problem here is, it's 15% that gets redirected to you. And the item itself does not come with any defensive stats outside of health. The alternative is you get Sentinel's Embrace, which has a little bit less health, but comes with base protections and has your own protections and provides protections to allies, which effectively end up reducing the damage taken as well. It's just a different way. I can do like a more detailed breakdown of that at a later point, why how exactly this compares to each other, and I think that would be interesting to just do the numbers. But I feel like Sentinel's Embrace is just going to come out on top, and I don't see the benefit of Compassion, since the overall stats for you are way worse, way less useful. Well, unless you value HP5 super high, I suppose. And yeah, I don't see the benefit of taking damage instead of your allies, instead of just reducing the damage they take in the first place. Or like instead of not making them take as much damage in the first place. Like the reduction that's applied here, the 15%, something that could be done through protection as well. The difference here is that this applies to multiple targets, but at the same time, if a whole team takes damage, I don't even know if you can survive that as a support. Like I feel like you're just gonna get blown up as well. I don't know. I haven't reached the point in the game where we are able to upgrade that, unfortunately. I wanted to see how it feels, but I'm still not sold on this. Animosity is the other one. 400 health, 20 HP5 and MP5. Passive, your basic attacks deal bonus damage equal to 4% of your maximum health as magical damage. This effect is doubled against structures. So, split push Sylvanas. I think this is really, really interesting, like especially with the bonus damage against structures. Yeah, I only see Sylvanas possibly using this, honestly, unless we get some basic attacking supports that could use this. Unless you get someone like Erlang Shen, and then in late game, you decide that now you've supported enough. You now need a magical Kinsai, basically, but reverse, because it's your own health. And the problem is that you can't really build into that much attack speed if you're building into health. So, or yeah, into max health. You want to max out your health. So even if you build like Shogun's Kasari and stuff, you're not going to end up with that big of a health pool, so the damage is not necessarily going to be that much. And I don't really know how that'll go together, I guess. But it would be a lot of damage that you could get out of this technically. Not as much as like an ADC does in late game maybe, but say you have 3,000 health, 1% of that is already 30. So this would be 120 extra damage as magical damage, which is usually not mitigated as well. Like not mitigated as much. You know, it's good damage for sure. I just don't see how you would fit it under support. But I think even Hyris doesn't know, because they were talking about it like, yeah, let's see if someone picks that up somehow. And then we have War Flag, and I tried War Flag, and I love the old War Flag where you could combine it with the Watcher's Gift, but I don't know if I love it now. 10 physical power, 20 magical power, 100 health, 10 MP5. Passive. Being in range of a minion or jungle camp, death without dealing the killing blow restores 6 health and 6 mana to all allies within 55 units, and also provides allies with a stacking self buff of 1% movement speed and 2% attack speed. Lasts 8 seconds, stacks up to 10 times. So yeah, you want to be aggressive with this. You want to have someone who benefits from attack speed, which most hunters do. That's not really a problem. So you can push up the lane very effectively. You can pressure the lane a lot. However, you get the 6 health and 6 mana restore as well, not just your allies. And compare that to Sentinel's Gift, which gives you 12 health and 8 mana. There's a really serious risk that you're just gonna get out-sustained while having some more pressure. And that's the problem. Warbanner and you're gonna fall behind in gold, of course, so you have to get kills for this. Warbanner is the first upgrade version, 30 physical power, 60 magical power, 300 health, 15 MP5. Each time you assist a kill on a minion or a jungle monster, you restore 1% health and mana to all allies within 55 units, and also provide allies with a stacking buff of 2% movement speed and 4% attack speed. Lasts 10 seconds, stacks up to 10 times. This is too minion reliant again. This is the new talisman of energy, I think. The question is, what if you build the entire team comp around this? What if you play with Warbanner, you get a talisman of energy, and you get the hunter item that benefits from minion kills as well. And you just get a completely juiced up hunter that runs in the base with whatever, 100% extra attack speed, and then has an otherwise power or crit heavy build. At that point, things could get interesting. So that would mean that you always just push when there's a minion wave, right? You just push into a minion wave and then you steamroll off of that. Problem with this one is also that it doesn't stack off guards at all. Like if you get an assist on a guard kill, you don't even get 1 stack. So you really, really, really depend on that minion wave, which also makes it kind of complicated to even get 10 stacks, because that means you have to like run around the jungle camps and then go straight to a wave or something to effectively utilize this. Very complicated. Spartan Flag is the other option, 40 physical power, 65 magical power, and 300 health. 15 MP5, and when you damage an enemy guard, you call down a Spartan Flag at the location, providing 10% increased power to allies staying in the radius. Lasts for 10 seconds, only occurs once every 10 seconds. A very interesting item for sieging, because you can just call this flag down on an enemy that stands under their Phoenix, and now you have a 10% power increase, and everyone can still attack the Phoenix. So that's where the interesting part comes in. But again, you sacrifice a lot, because you're not going Watcher's Gift, so you're not getting extra gold, and then you're not getting the extra defensive aura that the enemy team will have in return with the extra power. So Warbanner and Spartan Flag, both very team reliant, I would say. But I guess at the same time, you know, it's kind of like choosing to not build Thebes, or saying maybe I will build the Sentinels thing instead of Thebes. It is a path that requires a lot of strategy behind it, which is why I think we won't see it much in like casual games or anything at all. If anything, probably more likely to see it in competitive games or in coordinated team-oriented games. And that, I think, is a problem with a lot of the items, that they are likely more like competitive focused than anything else. Then we have Tainted Steel, 10 physical power, 15 magical power, 15 magical protection, 15 physical protection, and enemy guards that you hit have their healing reduced by 20% for 6 seconds. Keep in mind that the other anti-heal items got nerfed a bit. They're at like 35% now, or 20% aura. So 20% is actually pretty good now, especially in combination with the out-of-combat reduction that's also applied. Problem again is with this one, no inherent sustain aura or anything, so you have to make do with a lot of pots, basically. First upgrade version, Tainted Breastplate, 40 physical power, 60 magical power, 30 magical protection, 70 physical protection. Passive enemy guards that hit you have their healing reduced by 50... enemy guards that you hit have their healing reduced by 50% for 6 seconds, which is huge now, because no other item really provides this anymore. So you making a decision in the early game here, okay, I'm gonna suck a bit in early game compared to the others, but in later stages, I will have more healing reduction in a single item than anyone else. Not bad, necessarily. Still, hard to fit in because you can only build one starter, and I don't really know who can fit this in usually. Like, obviously, you would first like look at solo laners for this, but it's still gonna be rough. And then it's Tainted Amulet, which can be upgraded at level 20 as well, which comes with 30 physical power, 50 magical power, 80 magical protection, and 30 physical protection. And we got that if you hit, have the healing reduced by 20% for 6 seconds. You are healed for 100% of the healing reduced. Again, 20% is not that low anymore. And you now healed for 100%. Wow, they changed that. So, okay, yes, no. Was it 100%? I don't know. Anyways, so you get 20% of the enemy's healing, meaning if they do any in-combat healing, which is reduced. That's kind of, yeah. No, never mind. You steal that, basically, I think. Yeah. No, if they do any in-combat healing, it heals you instead. Also, again, you have to make this very early game decision that you really want to mess with healers in late game. I don't know if that's worth as much. I think a 50% healing reduction on a healer is worth more than stealing a little bit of their heal. I think it just takes away so much more of their own potential rather than just giving you just a little bit more healing. Like, it's Cerberus only. Now we have some other items that are changed. Elixir of Power now provides 10% extra penetration. Good. Didn't offer enough before. Elixir of Defense now provides 5% damage mitigation and 20% crowd control reduction. Also good. Didn't provide enough before. Some people might accidentally overcap on crowd control reduction now. Shield of Thorns. Decreased damage reflected from 40 to 30% and decreased cap of damage taken from 150 times the level to 120 times your level. You know how I feel about Thorns. I am not happy with this change. I think Thorns is just hated because of the Pro League, and everyone acts like it works the same in every casual, and I don't think it does, and I don't think it works the same in ranked for the most part. But it was going to happen anyways. I don't even think it's been... I'm not sure. I don't know if I say something wrong here, but I don't know. And the upgrade also gets the reduction down to 30% and also the cap. I don't even know, like... I think at least the upgrade version could have gotten a little bit more. Just so there's a bit more of a reason to do that, but yeah. Tank items, huge. Gigantic changes that are very interesting. I've toyed around with some of them already. Definitely feel better to use now. Witchblade no longer provides attack speed, now builds of Adventurous Blade and provides 30 physical protections. And the attack speed reduction aura is also increased from 20 to 25%. Attack speed is the conversation in a lot of these items, so we have to have a good counter, and Witchblade is now a much better counter than before, with the exception of going against magical ADCs, but I think that's fine because you still wouldn't make much use of the attack speed anyways. So yeah, it was a weird item before, it's a good item now. Winged Blade, decreased... what? Yeah, oh, actually, yeah. Decreased health from 300 to 250, but now provides 30 magical protections. Establishes this as a magical item. It's a bit weird because a lot of physical characters also come with slows, and they are more hard countered by Winged Blade, like Bastet or Nemesis. But at the same time, a lot of them also, for example, happen to be countered by Witchblade anyways. Not all, obviously, but like Arachne, Nemesis. So you can just combine those. You just get your physical protections from Witchblade instead, and then get Winged Blade along with it. So not necessarily a problem. We have Relic Dagger, increased health from 300 to 350. Now provides 10% cooldown reduction. I don't know why this... crowd control reduction, sorry, not cooldown reduction. I don't know why this item is getting buffs. I think it was a good item before. Now it's even better. Emperor's Armor gets 10 physical protection. Good, it was just not quite worth it. Talisman of Energy now provides maximum stacks on God, Death, or Assist. See, this is what I would have thought for the relics, for the starters that we talked about before. But we have an item that does that now, and I think that's good. That makes Talisman a lot more interesting in team fights, especially because it's going to snowball off of it a lot. John's Wrath increased the physical power from 40 to 50. Very nice. Stonecutting Sword, decreased cost from 2,500 to 2,300. Also very nice. Berserker Shield, decreased physical protection from 30 to 20, but increased physical power from 40 to 50, and increased physical power from Berserk Passive from 20 to 30. Super strong item in my opinion. Now, they say that this should be an assassin item, but I feel like they're kind of forgetting the fact that hunters can build this as well. And hunters will like the fact that it still offers you some protection, but don't care that it's not that much, and they will like the fact that it has more power, and more power on the passive. So I think this is even more of a hunter item now. And I think Berserker Shield is very, very strong. So I don't really know. The funny thing is that I thought Berserker Shield was going to be like the norm in the hunter meta. Actually, I didn't make the video in the end, but I was like talking about new hunter builds. And this was after Berserker Shield was changed. And I brought it up and I said that I thought that it would actually become staple. And then a completely different build became meta for a while. And I was like, I'm not going to touch this. I'm not going to touch this because if I do, everyone's going to be upset again. Like, I would tell everyone that Berserker Shield is probably better in the majority of situations, but no one will want to hear it right now because there were so many other strong items anyways. It goes the Atalanta's Bow and everything anyways. And now it's being built. Now all the SPL players are running it. And yeah, I think they're going to run it even more. This time I'm going to say it. This time I'm not afraid. This time I'm just going to tell you that I think the hunters are going to run it even more than before now because it's such a good item for them. So I don't think it's going to be an assassin item, even though some assassins I'm sure will run it as well. I've tried it. It's not bad, for sure. The next one is Warded Shield. Here you only get a price reduction down to 1,150 gold. And the magical power protection is decreased from 35 to 25. This is just so it's more accessible. Nothing changed outside of that. And Sealer got the magical protection decreased from 50 to 30, but the physical power increased from 40 to 60. I think this is a good shift because if you're building in Sealer, you want some magical defense, but you're primarily after signing someone with it. Otherwise, you're building Runic Shield. Now there's more of a separation where you can just silence someone once, get a little bit of magical protection, but primarily just hit them harder afterwards and punish them better. Serrated Edge now provides 10 physical power per stack and no longer provides 10 basic attack power per stack. Serrated Edge was like very highly valued for a while and then not really, and then now it's not really built anymore. And it has a weird mix of stats. I think it's because of the lifesteal especially as well. And I think, like, I thought initially that this might possibly make it more interesting for some characters, but I'm honestly not even sure anymore. So Serrated Edge is just such a confusing item in my opinion. Like, sometimes you just want to have something that's more ability based, and then I feel often you would be more towards like Titan's Bane, and sometimes you want to have something that just is more basic attack focused, and you're building this on assassins primarily, and they want to have something that does damage to squishies primarily, so you're gonna get Stonecutting Sword, which usually gives you more damage. And Serrated Edge fills a niche in between that is really just hard to pinpoint at times. Celestial Legion Helm gets 10 magical power. Okay, moving on. Sphere of Desolation now decreases ultimate cooldowns by 8 seconds on getting a kill assist on enemy guard, in addition to reducing non-ultimate cooldowns by 2 seconds. Massive. I think this is huge. I don't know why this is not being talked about, but I think talking about these other items with like a lot of power and CDR and everything, I think Spear of Desolation should just, be built more. Like 8 seconds of your ultimate. I think that's big. That's all I can say. Unless you're playing Hell, then it's not big, but or RDO or whatever. But like everyone else is just really good. All I'm saying. Obsidian Shard increased magical power from 70 to 80. Okay, moving on. Polynomicon increased magical power from 85 to 95. Okay, moving on. Charon's Coin. Oh wow, this was not mentioned. Added new art to indicate which stacks are gained on the buff bar. Green heads for HP 5, yellow tails for movement speed. Okay, nice. So you actually know what's going on with that. Soul Reaver. No longer provides 10% magical penetration, decreased cost from 2,850 to 2,650, and increased the percentage health damage, maximum strength from 7% to 9%. This is because it was just a bit too effective against tanks overall, and I think that is justifiable. That magical penetration will get moved though, so don't be mad. I think most mages will enjoy what's coming next. Word of Tahuti just provides 10 magical penetration now. Everything else stays the same. Huge buff for an already, like, I wouldn't say an already strong item because at the moment it's just not that valued, but like for a late game heavy item, and it's not being built, there's just other paths that are being built more. What I'm thinking is, if you can afford it, I feel like there's so much reason to rush to Tahuti, Spear of Desolation Tahuti builds. That's what I'm looking at. I think that's the combination that we'll see a lot more. Cursed Orb gets some nerfs. Movement speed down from 3% to 2%. Stack count from 5 to 4. Magical power per stack increased from 3 to 4. So from 15 total to 16 in total. But the extra stack of movement speed is lost. They're slowing things down a little bit, giving a little bit less rotation speed. And with Doom Up, the same thing happens. The movement speed is decreased from 6% to 4%. Fair enough. Fair enough. I think Zoom Up had its meta. It's time for something else. Shift the Shield. Increased physical protection from 15 to 25. Increased protection gained while under 75 health from 35 to 40. Decreased cost from 2,400 to 2,350. Why? I don't know. I think Shift the Shield wasn't even that bad before. I mean, they say it's not tanky enough for bruisers and not offensive enough for assassins. But I think it's pretty offensive enough for many assassins. And I think it's more the problem that some other items are maybe a little bit overpowered. But I'm taking those free stats on an item that I already like. Yeah, well, I mean, like it's more like, you know, would you pick this or Glad Shield? That's what the problem is. And the other items have like more other utility as well, like CR, Pen or whatever you're looking at, you know. That's why it's kind of losing value. Frostbone Hammer. Increase the physical power from 25 to 35. Increase attack speed reduction from 15% to 25%. Did I mention set before? I just wanted to mention set again. You know? 60% attack speed. Frostbone Hammer. Set. Just wanted to say that again. I don't know why that name comes up so much. It's just a cool name, you know, set. Yeah. Outside of that, probably a few other gods that could make pretty good use of this as well. I mean, see Varman. Now that his ult's already like changed a fair bit as well. Could see if that works. Oh, okay. And it's confirmed here that this will work with Witchblade. Ooh. That's a 50%. Okay, wait. We're let's see. 25%, yeah. Correct. Or is it 25%? And now I have to find. This is so interesting. If this works. Where is it? Hold on. If this works, that is. That item that I mentioned, Corrupted Bluestone, which we just said, also comes with an attack speed reduction. If you hit, well, the hard part is, no, actually, no, it's easy actually. It doesn't say how the stacks work, either works with ticks or whatever, but this means if you land an ability and a basic attack on someone, and you have Witchblade and Frostbound and this, you reduce their attack speed by 70%. Who cares that there's 60% attack speed increase items in the game when you can reduce someone's attack speed by 70%? I think the biggest problem for everyone is going to be that there's a 2.5 attack speed cap. So it's like going to counteract everything. Unless you're running a Silver Branch. Oh god, I'm going to try this later. So yeah, that's going to be fun. Runeforged Hammer. Increased health from 200 to 250. Decreased power from 50 to 40. Increased passive damage increase from 15 to 20%. Don't quite know, like, on one hand they're making it tankier and then take away some power, okay. But then they increase the passive damage effect, which effectively gives you more damage. The reasoning they gave was that the passive damage does not scale off power. So it's focused more on tanks through that, because now the base damage is also amplified. And I think that makes sense. I think that's an interesting move. We'll see how well it works and who it works for. I know that Runeforged Hammer is a fickle beast, I would say. So depending on who and how and what, this could end up very strong all of a sudden again. There was a time where Naja was like super strong with this. And we will have to see in which direction this goes here. Obviously also interesting that this is a buff in combination with Frostbound Hammer, because as far as I recall, Moonforge Hammer can proc off item slows as well. If it does that, then we could actually see the double hammer build again. Such gets the nerfs down from 300 health to 250, and the protection get reduced from 10 to 8. It's probably still okay, but it's probably not going to be like the most sought after item, which is completely fair because it was a very strong item for a very long time. Shield of Regrowth, decreased movement speed from passive from 40% to 30%. This is reasoned partially with a new map as well, where everything is further apart, and they don't want people to zoom around with Shield of Regrowth too much. Fair enough, to be honest. Hunters get a new item which is called Dominance, which builds up charge Morningstar. 2,500 gold, 55 physical power, 200 mana, 20 MP5, 10% physical penetration. Passive, your basic attacks get an additional 10%, benefit from additional 10% physical penetration. So 20% pen on your basic attacks. Weird to me is that this comes with mana and MP5, while looking more like a basic attack character item. I don't think most basic attack characters have mana issues, because then they would be ability-based characters. And yeah, I thought that maybe this could be interesting for some assassins at the end of the day, more than some hunters, where you would just apply the additional penetration, like, yeah, I was thinking like Raven or something maybe, where you still make some use of the mana and MP5, but at the end of the day, I just don't really see this being all too great for anyone so far. But it is a lot of power at the same time, so I don't know. Atalanta's Bow decreased physical penetration from 20 to 10%. The thing I've been asking for since the start, and decreased the cost from 2,450 to 2,200. I think the problem with Atalanta's now might be that it's super niche. I think the nerf is completely justified, but they've nerfed other things about it before. And I would have preferred if they reverted the nerfs on the other things and kept the price the same, so the item has more value in other ways. I will give you Hunters that. I think the change how it is now is makes it a bit of a weird item overall. It's still not bad. It still has some pen, I guess, but I feel like others are just going to outshine it. And we'll see what happens there. And with Executioner, increase the maximum stack count from 3 to 4. And it goes from 21 to 28% penetration total. You know what that means? Executioner is back, baby. We have 28% penetration here. Oh, like protection reduction. Why does it say penetration? What? Am I lost? Yeah, this should be protection reduction. Unless they changed something and I forgot. Or they forgot. Yeah, no, anyways, this should be 20, like, you get through 28% of the enemy's protections after 4 shots. Whereas here, you now only get through 10%, and that means you can actually use Executioner again effectively, and maybe generally look towards protection reduction builds as well, or a combination of both, which isn't super synergistic, but still okay. So the items that I have an eye on right now are Berserker Shield, which comes with a lot of power protection and some penetration, I think. Some attack speed? Something, yeah. And then Executioner. Because then you have like a solid base, you have some protection as well, you have some pen from the start, but not too much. And then you can get the full shred from this later. So that's what I'm thinking so far. And then Death Toll and Devils along with that, and then you should be set. just Kins at the end. Yeah, why not? Crit is getting changed a lot. So what happens here basically is all of the items, all of the tier 1, tier 2 items don't have any crit anymore. And instead they now provide extra power. So that you get more laning, clearing potential from them, but they can't just randomly crit. And the crit items that get higher values of power, so that of crit, so that crit feels fair. That means, yeah, we're just gonna scroll through them. We don't need to look at them. They all get like 5 to 10 extra power, and then some prices are just a little bit and everything. But the details aren't super important here. But that means here that we see some changes. So Rage, for example, has its power increased from 20 to 30, because otherwise it just feels weird, since like the tier 2 has more power than the tier 3 otherwise. And the gold cost is increased from 2,400 to 2,500 for that. Deathbringer has its power increased by 10 as well, finally making it more of a high stakes item again, I suppose. Shadow Steel Shuriken has its power increased by 10 and the attack's been increased by 5%. That's because crit and anti-heal are a weird combination in the first place. And Wind Demon has its crit chance increased by 5, so it's also at 20%. And then Poison Star has its cost reduced by 200 and the slow reduced by 5%. Which I actually, I wasn't sure about first, but I think it's actually probably a buff overall. Janus, the portals are getting changed and the Unstable Vortex is getting changed. The portals now, if someone is falling through, they are targetable and can take damage while they are falling down. So that's huge for Janus as well as for his allies. Second, more important, Unstable Vortex doesn't have an empty gap anymore. So in the middle, there's now an electric beam that goes along with the projectile, which means if you're anywhere in the area of Unstable Vortex, you get hit. You can't run into the middle of it and dodge it. Very important because Unstable Vortex is now huge. It covers a massive area and you can just throw it forward and you probably hit someone. And that makes a huge difference for Janus. And through space and time can now only deal up to 75% of the target's maximum health, meaning it can't one-shot you at full health. It can still one-shot you if you're lower than that, obviously. And the audio has been adjusted to be more audible as it travels. I bet I'm still not going to hear it. Janus is scary now. We'll talk more about him in the future, but I think he's scary. Apologies. Then we have Bakasura, Insatiable Hunger decreased movement speed from 7% to 5% per stack. He's just doing too well in ranked. That's all. That's all Bakasura ever does. He does well in ranked and gets nerfed. That's what he does all day. Ra, Speed of Light decreased movement speed from 6% to 5% per stack, but also worth noting that these movement speed decreases are somewhat targeted at the larger conquest map again. And Poseidon decreased movement speed from the Changing Tides passive from 15% to 10% at max tide. Agni gets a very interesting buff. Combustion, basic attacking a god, now provides 2 stacks to get some extra damage out of that. Problem is on PTS it doesn't seem to work yet, apparently. So we can't really say how good it is, but it seems like something that could be pretty good. Important is it's only on guards, right? It's not on minions. Chernobog, Vicious Barrage, increased attack speed from 20 to 60% to 40 to 60%, and decreased mana cost from 70 to 90 to 60 to 80. I say this now, Hyros may regret this change. Not because Chernobog is particularly strong at the moment, or not because he doesn't deserve a buff, but rather because the new Conquest map is one that is extremely beneficial for Chernobog, because he can travel at basically the same speed as before if he ults to someone, whereas everyone else is walking a lot longer. So I think Chernobog has a very good potential, even more than someone like Apollo, who also has a longer travel path now, to become very strong from the area around him alone, and may not even need further buffs and might end up getting nerfs later. We'll see. Chiron, Herbal Medicine, provides power to allies being healed. 5 plus 1 per level physical power, or 10 plus 2 per level magical power. Pretty cool, I think. I think it's a nice, interesting effect. 25 physical power or 50 magical power at max rank. I think that's a pretty strong effect, honestly. But if you have multiple allies around that buffs everyone, right? Or is it just buff the nearest ally? I forgot. I haven't played Chiron in a while. But either way, even if it's just 2 people, because Chiron gets the buff as well. And Chiron, with his abilities, just getting extra power on top of that before he uses ultimate or something. I think that's huge. Kronos, increased attack speed per level from 0.8 to 1.5%. And stop time increased scaling from 40 to 45%, or rather double proccing 80 to 90%. Kronos hasn't been doing well for a very long time, so I think it's justifiable. At the same time, I wonder how Kronos will be doing with the new death toll anyway, so may also be something we end up regretting, but we'll see. Danzaburou. Dubious savings decreased bonus power from each pouch from 10 to 6. Fair enough. Fool's Gold decreased base damage from 70 to 290 to 70 to 270. And decreased damage from subsequent hits of moneybags and explosions from 20 to 15%. I said these were good nerfs. I've played them on PTS now. I say these nerfs are not enough. He still feels super strong, especially since the earliest rank of the ability isn't even nerfed. Yeah, that's all I'll say. I think he's still super good. Nothing really changed. Needs some more nerfs, in my opinion. Fenrir, a lot of buffs. Unfortunately, the game where I tried to play him, I got like a bad server. There were a lot of server issues yesterday and got 300 ping. So I can't really say how that works because my ult wouldn't even activate properly. Like it wouldn't even take anyone that I'm picking up. So Unchained, increased physical power scaling from 80 to 95%. Cool. Seething Howl increased, immediately generates 2 unbound runes upon cast. I think this is huge. I think it's very interesting. I was able to make use of this. Despite everything else, you know, if you just ready to gank someone, you just pop that so that you get the full runes and then you can stun them. And Brutalize, increase AoE damage from 50% of Brutalized damage to 60% of Brutalized damage. So a little bit more clear there as well. He's still like, he was one of the ones that tried mannequins on. He still struggles, like trying to clear with him, with the extra lifesteal that he has, with Brutalize and everything. He still takes too much damage to clear the camps like with mannequin. I mean, he's also not a prime user for mannequin, but I just want to see how it goes. It doesn't go. Bombas it is. Hachiman, Eagle Eye, decreased cooldown from 14 seconds to 12 seconds. And Mounted Archery doesn't allow him to use things during the jumping off the horse animation. Yeah, fair changes. Not been like super strong or anything, so that's fair enough. And Hercules Earthbreaker increased damage from 80 to 260 plus 50% of your physical power to 90 to 290, 60% of your physical power. He got some nerfs before, and I think a buff to Earthbreaker is honestly interesting at this point. Like Hercules usually gets his nerfs based on his Pro League performance. If you look at him in ranked, I've talked about this before, my tier list, he does not do very well. So ultimately, I think him getting a buff in this way is fair enough. It's always a question of how that impacts competitive. Izanami, Death Draws Nigh. Izanami's sickle projectile speed increases as she gains attack speed. This should result more closely with her sickle returning a second before it fires. Before a second one fires, sorry. Okay. That's actually interesting because it like should look a lot less clunky. Because at the moment, like you have like situations where you have like 2 of them flying around sometimes. So yeah, okay. I think that's a good change. Merlin, Frostbolt scaling decreased from 60 to 55, but Radiate increased time between decreased time between ticks from 0.5 to 0.25, and changed the tick damage from 10 to 50 plus 30% of your magical power to 6 to 30 plus 18% of your magical power, which means the total goes from 40 to 200 plus 120 to 48 to 240 plus 144. So yeah, you get some more damage in the fire, some less damage in the frost stance. And I think that's not too bad because like the Radiate ability is one that is very high risk. At the same time, if you get double burn, that might hurt a lot now. So I can't really say how strong this will really be because you don't necessarily always apply all ticks. With this one, I wanted to wait and see before I make a further judgment. It could be very good, but it could also be something where you barely notice a difference because it's still too risky or get shut down too easy. Naja gets like almost a rework basically. Flaming Spear. Heal changed from 0.75% of your maximum health per stack to 2 up to 10 plus 10% of your physical power per stack. So this guy's with physical power instead now. Keep in mind that like everyone else, he also gets less healing from this outside of fighting guards. Really Sash, this ability can no longer crit, but increase the damage from 70 to 190 to 70 to 270 and increase the scaling from 100% to 150%. So the damage here is basically a middle ground between what if this ability would crit and what if this ability would not crit. And I think overall that's stronger in my eyes because most of the game, most of the time, like by the time this is maxed out, maybe not necessarily because well, I don't know. Actually, maybe you level them differently now. Yeah, that's another conversation. But usually you will not have enough crit chance yet to reliably crit with this. So in most of those situations, this will do more damage. And then Windfire Wheels increase the beats window for Windfire Wheels to 0.4 seconds. And upon landing, you gain 20 to 40 protections, not physical, both protections, for 5 seconds. Interesting, since it makes it easier to avoid the ability, to cancel the ability by using beats in time. But at the same time, there's some other aspects that you have to keep in mind, which is the protections part here, which gives him a way to survive better after coming back down instead of getting focused down. Once upon a time, his passive did that job by reviving him. Not by reviving him, by putting in a flower and then buffing his teammates massively. Now he gets some buffs himself, get a little bit of that back. Ragin, because of Storm, decreased cooldown from 10 seconds to 9 seconds. Maybe someone who could make use of, what was it, that item that relies on using abilities very frequently to increase your lifesteal, the Vampiric Shot upgrade, but then would you really want that on Ragin anyways? Raiju decreased cooldown from 16 to 12 seconds to 14 to 10 seconds. Also, again, so you can use things a lot more. I think that's pretty huge, like a 2-second reduction across all ranks, with the other ability being reduced as well. And Thunder Crash increased scaling on Lightning Thunder damage from 20 to 30%, so from 40 to 60 in total. I think this is a scary amount of buffs to put on a guard before knowing what they do, like in the new season with the new items. I'm a bit scared, but also excited. So we'll see what happens with him. But I feel like there's a lot of pressure that he can, and I'm honestly thinking like Rage in Jungle could work pretty well now because he's got such short cooldowns to clear everything. I don't know, maybe. Ram, fixed an issue where Ram can fire abilities while exiting the ultimate earlier than intended, so you can't just roll away while you're dropping down. Sol, Unstable Manifestation, increased attack speed from 1% to 1.2%, so total of 25 going up to 30% now. And Stellar Burst increased the damage from 35% to 40%, so total with the two parts of it from 70 to 80%. Also fair, also someone we should like keep an eye on with Death Toll and everything. But at the same time, keep in mind that she also gets a nerf from this patch because her self-heal will heal less as well. And then there's also the Season 8 roadmap here, so there's still some stuff that they have planned. And that's, first of all, the upcoming guards. So Tiamat is in 8.2, and then the next guard is already announced, Gilgamesh in 8.4. And then we have another 4 guards on the list, every 2 patches, as usual. So yeah, 6 guards. We have some teasers for them as well. That's something we'll talk about another day. And this is also interesting. Anything players feel is lacking in Season 8 will very likely be part of Season 9. They're already telling us that something will happen in Season 9 as well. So it seems that maybe this year, like they say, okay, so I'm going to read this part out. So it's going to be, there are currently 6 new guards this year with at least one of each class. The Babylonian was our big player requested edition this year. The rest of the year will be a mixture of surprises and other interesting community requests. So this may not be the biggest names potentially, and maybe not the guards that we would expect from what it sounds like, but rather the big requested names than would be in the next season. Maybe like someone like Morgana or something, who knows. Upcoming guard reworks. Persephone is going to get reworked since she's just very frustrating to play against and very inconsistent. So the goal is to make her weaker in pro play and better for casual or ranked. Bastet is someone where they just weren't happy with the rework. So while she has a strong win percentage in Conquest, players don't enjoy her. And now she's going to get a new passive and a new ultimate that should feel more like an ultimate. Very interesting. And at least 2 other guards will receive like an ability that is entirely reworked or kit-wide heavy adjustments. Those will not be named yet, so it's a willish. I don't know, just a prediction. I feel like she's one of those examples that is kind of like reverse Persephone. Who knows? Find out. And then we have item reworks, mail of renewal. We saw this teased a while ago along with the other items. You'd have to refer back to that data mining video if you want to see that. Stone of Fall. It's just not popular, so that's gonna be reworked to make it better in a tanky sense as well. And some item effects which are currently like overlapping other things or not visual enough, basically not visible enough, will be reworked in one way or another. And also likely other items that will be reworked in mid-season or beyond, but they're not ready to share that yet. Then we're also going to get some remodels. We're going to get a Sobek remodel and at least one more guard, but they're hoping they find time for more. Sobek looks pretty cool though, so I'm happy with that one at least. And then we also have announcements for upcoming skins for guards who aren't often skinned. That sounds terrible. So there's skins for Cerberus, Baron Samni, Kuzumbo, Saket, Erlang Shen. We already see that one. That looks really cool, honestly. Kali, Varman. Kali also a really cool skin that we already saw. Shonghui and Thoth. And then there's also a planned but not started skin that's likely happening this year for Kronos and Sylvanas. So very cool if you're playing those guys. And then there are also upcoming events. So Conquest will have 3 more updates that change the map somehow. And there is something for at least one other map that's being changed. They've already said that though. I don't know why they're trying to hide it now. They said slash. They said like a cross over of Clash and Siege. And I think they're just going to remove Clash and Siege, make that one mode and combine the best aspects of both modes. That's just my idea. I think that's going to happen because both of these modes are not particularly popular, and it would put them in a niche where they're very similar modes and make them more appealing, more interesting, and then probably be a 4-player mode since we have enough 5-player modes, and that would also solve the population issue in this mode a little bit better. So I feel like that's what's going to happen. No promises though, obviously, I don't know. The other one here is 2 crossover events. We cannot reveal any details about them, but this pace of 2 a year is feeling really good for the dev team and players alike. We are going to try and continue this throughout Season 8 with a focus on making sure we find good fits for combat styles between each IP and Smite Guard. Crossover events should be somewhat rare, and the skins need to be super high quality. We think Avatar and TMT nailed this concept, and we plan to keep the bar as high as those 2 crossovers did. In other words, what they're saying is the Ruby collaboration did not make them happy. Surprise, surprise. But these 2 did, which I completely agree with. The only problem that I see with the Turtles one is that they all kind of are hard to tell apart when you actually have them all in a game together. But yeah, overall, that's the take so far. And then we have clans coming back, a big question that often gets asked. In 2 phases. Initially, they come back with the essential functions, and then they have a second phase in late Season 8 or early Season 9, where they have new systems and rewards. Basically, there was a lot of back-end issues with clans, that's why they disabled them, that affected the game as a whole, apparently, I think. And now they need to rebuild clans from scratch. So yeah, it should hopefully not cause any issues anymore, at least. And then they do plan to bring like UI updates, features, and everything, and new rewards later in the year. New rewards, very important part. And then we have the UI update, which I think is super important. So the esports viewer store in 8.2, that's whatever to me. The purchasing experience, that's whatever to me. The in-game match experience, item shop, HUD, and gameplay clarity for all platforms. HUD is the most important part. That's old. It's so old. It's so rough and ugly. And I want a circular HUD. And I'll say it 100 times. I want a circular HUD on the sides of a character because that would give way more visual clarity in a game like Smite. And that'll happen this year. And I'm so happy for it. Well, not the circular HUD, but a HUD rework of some kind. And then the ranked UI will also be changed because it's messy. And then some miscellaneous quality of life features. That's all. Well, I said it's going to be shorter. It was shorter by 40 minutes. was still very, very long. Massive changes this patch. Can't even talk anymore. Talking for like almost 2 hours again. Very cool changes for the most part. Very interesting ones. A lot of experimenting that go into these. And I'm looking forward to it, and I'm looking forward to everything we can do with this, all the number crunching and all that. And that's what we're gonna do. And if you're watching this right now, maybe you're 2 hours late, but I've probably started at this point started PTS games. So if you want to join, feel free to do that. Also, I started a Patreon. If you didn't see the video because like the algorithm didn't really show it to many people, then feel free to check that out. It'll be linked up there, as well as some other cool videos that you can watch about Season 8. And with that, thank you guys very much for watching. I hope to see you for the next one soon. I'm tired and exhausted. Duke Sloth, out.